The conference room aboard the Cauldrath ship buzzed with excitement. Commander Vexther stood before the holographic display, his 4 eyes gleaming with satisfaction. The planet rotating slowly in the blue light looked perfect. Green continents, blue oceans, white clouds swirling in predictable patterns. It was beautiful, defenseless, and about to become property of the Cauldrath Empire. "Gentlemen," Vexther announced, his voice carrying the confidence of 20 successful campaigns, "I present to you the easiest conquest in our military history. As now our military number 3, as a military history." The assembled officers leaned forward, their tentacles twitching with anticipation. Junior officer Pixelan sat in the back row reviewing the survey data on his personal screen. He was young, barely 3 cycles into his military service, but thorough in his duties. The target world is designated GC 7834 in our navigation charts. Vexther continued. Our long-range scans show a single unified planetary government. This is unusual but advantageous. One government means one surrender, not dozens of separate negotiations. The tactical officer, a scarred veteran named Cauldrath, manipulated the hologram to show weapon signatures. Their technology level is primitive. Commander. They use chemical propellants for their weapons. Actual explosives and kinetic projectiles. No plasma weapons detected. No particle beams. Nothing that could threaten our shields. Laughter rippled through the room. Chemical weapons belonged in museums, not modern warfare. Their space presence is minimal. Krex added. A few satellites. A small station orbiting their planet. Nothing armed. Nothing that could resist even a single frigate. Much less our full battle group. Vexther expanded the display to show the Cauldrath fleet. 47 warships of various classes, from nimble corvettes to the massive dreadnought he currently commanded. It was overwhelming force for such a primitive target. But the Empire believed in certainty. No battle was worth losing because of inadequate preparation. The indigenous population numbers approximately 8 billion. Vexther said they are divided into multiple nation-states despite having a unified government structure. Our analysts believe this indicates poor social cohesion. They argue among themselves over trivial matters. Resources, territory, abstract concepts they call ideologies. The political officer, a thin cauldron named Vesiton, spoke up. His role was to ensure military actions served imperial interests. The population will be valuable for labor conscription. They are physically robust, capable of surviving in various environmental conditions. After proper conditioning, they will serve the Empire well. Kanakna Pixelan frowned at his screen. Something in the cultural database seemed odd. He scrolled through behavioral notes compiled by the survey team. The inhabitants of GC 7834 engaged in something called persistence hunting. They literally chased their prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. What kind of predator did that? Most hunters use speed, strength, or venom. Chasing something for hours seemed inefficient. Another note caught his attention. The species demonstrated spite as a motivational factor. They would sometimes act against their own immediate interests to prove a point, or punish perceived wrongdoing. That seemed irrational. Pixelan made a mental note to ask about it later, then dismissed it. Probably just translation errors. The survey team had only observed from orbit. Our strategy is simple, Vex. Thor explained, pulling up tactical maps. We enter their system, establish orbital superiority, and broadcast surrender terms. Given their technological limitations, they will recognize the futility of resistance. If they are foolish enough to fight, we disable their industrial capacity with surgical strikes. Minimal casualties on both sides. Krex nodded approvingly. A clean operation. We should have the planet secured within 5 standard days. 3 days, Vexther corrected. The Empire wants this concluded quickly. There are 3 other worlds in our expansion queue. The officers began discussing logistics, supply lines, garrison requirements. How many troops would be needed to maintain order during the transition period? It was all very routine. They had done this before on other worlds. The Cauldrath Empire was not the largest or most powerful in the galaxy, but it was efficient and methodical in its expansion. Pixelan continued reviewing the cultural data. The inhabitants of GC 7834 had an unusual history. They fought among themselves constantly, yet somehow achieved technological advancement. Despite the chaos, their planet was classified as a high-gravity world with dangerous weather patterns. They had survived multiple extinction-level events. The survey notes describe them as remarkably adaptable and unusually persistent. There was that word again, persistent. It kept appearing in the behavioral analysis. Are there any questions? Vextha asked, scanning the room. Pixelan almost raised his hand, then hesitated. He was the most junior officer present. Questioning the commander's briefing would be presumptuous. The survey team had spent months analyzing GC 7834. They knew what they were doing. His concerns about translation errors and behavioral oddities were probably nothing. He lowered his hand and remained silent. Excellent. Vextha said. We depart in 6 hours. All ships will jump together and arrive in formation. I want an impressive display. Sometimes the sight of overwhelming force is enough to secure immediate surrender. The officers filed out already, discussing which ships would get the honor of the first orbital positions. Pixelan gathered his datapad and followed, his unease growing despite the confident mood around him. 6 hours later, the Cauldrath battle group activated their jump drives. Space folded around them in a shimmer of exotic particles. The journey to GC 7834 would take 3 days at faster than light speeds. 3 days of final preparations, weapons checks, and rehearsing the surrender broadcast. Vextha spent the time in his quarters reviewing the psychological profiles of GC 7834's inhabitants. The survey team had identified key pressure points. The species valued their offspring highly, more than most. They formed strong emotional attachments. They responded to shows of force but also respected strength, tempered with mercy, threatened their children. And they would fight desperately, demonstrate overwhelming power, then offered generous terms. And they would likely capitulate. It was a standard formula. It had worked on a dozen other primitive worlds. On the 3rd day, the fleet emerged from jump space at the edge of the GC 7834 system. The target planet hung in the distance, a blue-green jewel against the black. The fleet formed up in attack formation and began the approach, engines burning steadily toward their destination. Vextha took his position on the bridge, surrounded by his senior staff. Status report. All ships in position. Commander, no defensive response detected. A few sensor locks from their satellites, but nothing that could threaten us. Open a channel. All frequencies. I want everyone on that planet to hear this. Channel open, sir. Vextha prepared to deliver the surrender demand he had given so many times before. The words came easily. State your superiority. Outline the terms. Give them a short deadline to consider. It was almost boring in its predictability. But before he could speak, a calm voice came through their communication system. It spoke in perfect Cauldrath, which was surprising but not alarming. Translator programs could manage that. Attention unidentified vessels. This is Earth Defense Command. You have entered protected space without authorization. You have 5 minutes to reverse course and exit this system. Failure to comply will be considered an act of war. The bridge crew erupted in laughter. Earth Defense Command. What kind of grandiose title was that for such a primitive world? Then someone screamed. A junior technician at the navigation station. His face pale, his tentacles trembling. Sir, the planet designation. I just cross-referenced the local identifier. His voice cracked with panic. GC 7834 is just our catalog number. The natives call their world. Vextha felt his blood turn cold. His 4 eyes widened in horror. He whispered the word before the technician could finish. Earth. The laughter died instantly. Every officer on the bridge froze. Someone dropped a data pad. It clattered loudly in the sudden silence. Pixelan pulled up his database with shaking hands, accessing the secure military channels he had never needed before. He found the file immediately. It was flagged with the highest warning level. The title simply read, Earth. Do not engage. The Cauldrath bridge remained frozen in horrified silence. Commander Vextha stood motionless, his mind racing through implications. Earth. The name echoed in his head like a death sentence. Someone tell me I heard that wrong, he said quietly. Tell me the translator malfunctioned. The navigation technician checked his screen 3 times before responding. No malfunction, sir. Cross-reference confirmed. GC 7834 local designation is Earth, 3rd planet from their sun. The inhabitants call themselves humans. Pixelan was already pulling up every file he could access. The secure military database opened, revealing document after document marked with red warning symbols. He started reading aloud, his voice shaking. Sir, there are 43 separate incident reports from other civilizations, all involving Earth or humans, all marked priority alert. Krex, the tactical officer, grabbed his own screen. This cannot be correct. Our survey team spent months analyzing GC 7834. They would have identified if this was Earth. The survey team observed. From the outer system, Pixelan said, scrolling frantically. They never approached close enough for cultural identification. They catalogued technology and resources only. Vextha felt his career dissolving before his eyes. More than his career. Possibly his life and the lives of everyone aboard these 47 ships. Pull up everything. I want every report about Earth immediately. The main display switched from tactical view to a data stream. Reports began appearing, cascading down the screen faster than anyone could read them. Incident reports, contact logs, diplomatic warnings, all involving humans. Start with the Cauldrath Concordat, Vexthad. They are the closest major power to Earth space. What do they say? Sen Nin. Open. Pixelan found the file and threw it onto the main display. The report was 30 cycles old, written by a Galtine admiral named Thexlaw. Vexi Thor began reading aloud, his voice hollow. First contact with Earth occurred during a border survey operation. Galtran scouts encountered a small human exploration vessel in disputed territory. Following standard protocol, we seized the vessel and detained its crew for questioning. The political officer, Vesitan, interrupted. That is reasonable. Standard procedure for unknown vessels in claim space. Keep reading. Pixelan whispered. Vexus Thor continued. The human crew consisted of 5 individuals. They did not panic or beg for release. Instead, they observed our procedures with unusual focus. During transport to our security facility, they asked detailed questions about our ship systems, our culture, our government structure. We assumed they were simply curious primitives facing their first contact with superior civilization. Coex leaned closer. What happened? They escaped within 2 days. Vex the Red, despite being held in a maximum security facility, despite having no tools or weapons, the humans systematically bypassed our containment systems. They disabled guards using improvised weapons created from eating utensils. They hacked our computer networks using a portable communication device one of them had concealed. They stole a transport shuttle and fled the facility. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. That was impressive, but not unprecedented. Escape attempts happen sometimes. The Galtran sent pursuit ships. Vextha continued. They expected to recapture the humans quickly. Instead, the humans evaded 12 military vessels for 4 days. Before escaping to their own space, the pursuit commander reported that the humans seemed to learn their tactics in real time, adapting their evasion patterns after each encounter. Vesitan shifted uncomfortably. That suggests advanced tactical training. It gets worse, Pixelan said. Keep reading. Vextha scrolled down. 3 weeks later, a human diplomatic vessel arrived at the Galtran border. They requested peaceful negotiations. The Galtran High Command agreed, believing they could dictate terms to the primitive species. The humans arrived with a delegation of 5 ambassadors. The commander's voice became quieter. During negotiations, the human chief diplomat made a presentation. She displayed real-time surveillance imagery of 17 secret Galtran military installations, locations that were classified at the highest security levels, bases hidden in remote systems, weapons research facilities that officially did not exist. The humans had found them all. Silence fell across the bridge. The human diplomat explained, calmly and politely, that Earth had no desire for conflict. She suggested that peaceful coexistence would benefit both civilizations. She implied, without making direct, Threats that continued. Hostilities would be unwise. The Cauldrath High Command reviewed the intelligence, breached and discovered that humans had somehow infiltrated their secure networks without leaving any trace. Coax made a choking sound. They hacked the Cauldrath Concordat. The Cauldrath have military-grade security systems, some of the best in known space. The report concludes with a recommendation. Vextha read, quote, "The species known as humans are to be approached with extreme caution. They possess technological capability beyond their apparent development level. More critically, they demonstrate adaptability, creativity, and determination that exceeds any species in our database. They are not to be threatened, provoked, or underestimated. Diplomatic contact only." End quote. Pixelon pulled up another file. "Sir, there are similar reports from 6 other civilizations. The Zork Hierarchy, the Mena Trade Alliance, the Quintel Federation, all of them have encountered humans. All of them recommend the same thing. Do not engage militarily." Vextha felt sick. Why was this not in our standard navigation database? It was, the navigation technician said weakly, but filed under local species designation. Earth, not under catalog number. GC 7834. The survey team never made the connection because they did not collect cultural data at close range. The political officer stood abruptly. This is clearly exaggerated intelligence. Propaganda designed to protect a primitive world. 6 civilizations would not defer to Preftal primitives unless there was some conspiracy involved. Pull up their planetary classification. Vextha, ignoring Vesiton. Pixon found the file. His face went pale. "Sir, Earth is classified as a Category 4 death world." "Explain." Krex demanded. "Gravity is 1.2 standard. Atmospheric pressure at sea level would be uncomfortable for most species. Oxygen content is 21%, which is toxic to several species over extended periods. The planet's surface is 71% covered in dihydrogen monoxide. Water." Vextha translated, "They live on a water world. Temperature ranges are extreme." Pixelon continued, "From -40 degrees to +50 degree inhabitable zones. Weather patterns include violent electrical storms, rotating wind columns capable of destroying structures, and frozen water precipitation that can bury entire settlements." Cole checked his own database. Their native biology evolved to survive these conditions. Humans are persistent predators, Pixelon read. They have exceptional endurance relative to their muscle mass. They regulate body temperature through liquid secretion. They possess an emergency response system called adrenaline that temporarily increases strength, speed, and pain tolerance. They heal rapidly from injuries that would be fatal to many species. The bridge crew stared at the display. Everything they had assumed about the target world was wrong. Not just wrong, dangerously wrong. "Commander," Krex said carefully, "I recommend immediate withdrawal. We entered this system under false assumptions. We should retreat and report our error to Imperial Command." Vextha wanted to agree. Every instinct screamed at him to turn the fleet around and jump away as fast as possible. But Vesiton, the political officer, stepped forward. "Absolutely not." Vesiton declared, "The Empire has committed 47 warships to this operation. We have invested significant resources. To retreat without even testing their defenses would be humiliating. It would make us look weak. It would make us look smart," Pixelon muttered. Vesiton glared at him. "You are a junior officer. Speak." When addressed, he turned to Vextha. "Commander, I am invoking my political authority. The Empire's honor requires that we make at least a show of force. Fire warning shots at their satellite network. Demonstrate our superiority. Then we can negotiate from a position of strength." Vextha hesitated. Every military instinct told him this was wrong. But political officers had authority to override tactical decisions. It was the Empire's way of ensuring military actions served political goals. "Sir, please reconsider," Cauldrath urged. "These reports suggest—" "Well, I have made my decision," Vesiton interrupted. "Commander Vextha, you will order a limited strike on the satellite network. Show these humans what our weapons can do." Vextha closed his 4 eyes. He thought about his family back home. His offspring who admired their father, the military hero. He thought about the 47 ships under his command. Thousands of Cauldrath lives depending on his decisions. Then he thought about the reports, the warnings, the phrase that kept appearing. Do not engage. He opened his eyes. Tactical. Target the nearest satellite cluster. Fire a single warning burst. Minimal power, just enough to demonstrate capability. Yes, sir, Cole replied, his voice heavy with resignation. The weapons officer entered the command. Energy built in the dreadnoughts' forward batteries.